my beautiful Sparks family, it's your girl Kaylee Sparks here with you today, and if you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and be a part of the Sparks family. So I know you're anxious to see this super cute crochet pants, but please just give me a minute. I want to make some changes on this channel, but I cannot do it without you, my Sparks family. I want you to leave a comment down below and please let me know which day and what time is the best time for me to drop a tutorial. In Jamaica, it's Eastern Standard Time, so please let me know, because sometimes when I drop a tutorial, you're at home cooking or what, so I'm not sure what you're doing at that time. So please let me know what's the best time. Leave that comment down below. And also, I will be starting to post more frequently on Instagram and also on TikTok. You may see an outfit on TikTok or Instagram that you don't see on YouTube, and you want me to do a tutorial on that, so please let me know. Follow me on all social media platforms. I answer to every single comment, not one comment that I leave unanswered. So let's jump straight into this video. So for today, we are going to do this crochet high waist shell pants. It is super easy. It is beginners friendly. And what I love most about this crochet pants, it has zip in the back, so it gives you a perfect fit. So if you haven't watched the video on how to create this super cute crochet pineapple top, make sure that you check it out. So I want you guys to spark up that comment section and let's all be one happy family. Let's jump into it. So we are going to use quite a few items today. A 4mm crochet hook, a tapestry needle to weave in our ends, our stitch marker, a pair of scissors, or measuring tape, silk pin, sewing needle, invisible zipper. It is optional, but I'm using the invisible zipper, hook and eye, invisible thread. It is optional. You can use regular thread or your wool. And I have some glue here. If you have your exact size invisible zip, you don't need the glue, and our acrylic yarn. So let's jump straight into this. Start off by creating a slip knot. Make a chain that is long enough to go around your waist. Do not put too much tension on your chain. So I have 26 here. Hold on to that 26 and chain 3. Yarn over, go into that 26 and create a double crochet. Pull through 1, 1, 2, 3, yarn over, pull through all 3. Yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through all 3. Yarn over, go into that next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, yarn over, pull through all 3. So we are going to do double crochet right straight to the end of it. We are not joining them together as yet, so just continue to put double crochet into each and every one of the space. So I am close to the end of this round. Yarn over and go into that last stitch. Chain up 2, turn your work, yarn over, go into that next stitch right in between with a double crochet. Yarn over, go into that next stitch space with a double crochet. And we are going to make some stitch markers because this row is going to be increased. So I place on 3 hairpin as a stitch marker, so that we'll know where to put our increase. So yarn over and go into the next stitch with your double crochet, and you're going to continue to do double crochet into each and every space until we reach to our stitch marker. So we are close to our stitch marker. So remove that stitch marker and place 2 double crochet into that spot. So that's 1 and that's 2. Yarn over, go into the next stitch with a double crochet. Take your stitch marker and place it at that spot, so you know that you're not supposed to come back at that spot. So yarn over and go into the next space, and you're just going to continue to do the same thing until you reach to your stitch marker. So we're close to our stitch marker. Remove that stitch marker, yarn over, go into that spot 2 times. That's 1, that's 2. Place your stitch marker at that spot, so you know that you must not go back into that space. And you're just going to continue to do this, and I'll meet you at our next stitch marker. So we are close to our next increase. Remove your stitch marker, go into that space 2 times. So that's 1 and that's 2. Replace your stitch marker back at that spot, so you know you must not increase in that spot. And then you're just going to continue and place 1 double crochet into each space, and I'll meet you guys at the end. So I'm close to the end of this round. Yarn over, go into that last stitch, chain up 2, turn your work, yarn over, go into that next stitch and create your double crochet. And we are going to do our increase more earlier than the one that we did before. So I'm going to do my increase right at this spot now. Remember, this is where we did it before, so we're going to do it right here. So yarn over, go into that spot 2 times. So that's 1 and that's 2. So yarn over, go into the next stitch and just continue from there. Remember, it's 2 rows we are doing of increase, then our next row will have no increase. So just continue to do this. So my next stitch marker is here, but I'm going to do my increase right at this spot. So that's 1 and that's 2. Then yarn over and go into the next stitches. My stitch marker that I did in the next row was over here, so make sure that you separate them, don't put them all at one spot. So continue to do that. So my stitch marker was
my stitch marker is here, so I'm going to put in my 2 double crochet right here. So that's 1 and that's 2. Yarn over, go into the next stitch and continue. I'm close to the end of this round, so I did my 2 rounds of increase, and my next rounds will be without increase, just a regular round. So that's the last one. Chain up 2, turn your work, yarn over, go into that stitch, that next stitch, and create your double crochet. So you're just going to go into each and every stitch, no increase, no decrease, and I'll meet you at the next round. So I'm close to the end of this round. Chain up 2, turn your work, yarn over, go into that next stitch and create your double crochet, and continue to go into each and every one. Remember guys, this row now will be consist of an increase. So we did our last increase at this spot, so we're going to do our next increase right off here. So just continue to do this, and remember, in every 2 row we are going to do an increase, and in the 3rd row no increase. So just continue to do this, and I'll tell you in all how much rows that I do, and I'll show you guys. So just continue doing that. So I'm on the finishing of my 14 row. Chain up 2, and for my 15th row, so here are all my stitch marker. I have 1, 2, 3, but for my 15th row I am only going to go into 2 stitches. So I'm going to go right in between these 2 stitch marker and right in between these 2 stitch marker. So just put on your hook, turn your work, yarn over, go into the next stitch with double crochet, and you're just going to continue to do this. And when I reach to the spot where I'm going to do my increase, I'll show you guys one more time. So as you can see, I'm right in between the 2 spaces, so I'm just going to place 2 double crochet into that space. So that's 1 and that's 2. Yarn over, go into the next stitch and just continue from there. I'll meet you at the next stitch marker. So I reach right in between my last stitch marker. So place 2 double crochet into that next space. So that's 1 and that's 2. Yarn over, go into the next stitch and then continue from there. So I'm on the finishing of this row. Last stitch, don't forget your last stitch guys, always remember your end stitches, else your work will turn out wrong. Notice that have an equal look. So chain up 2, and your chain 2 is always classified as a double crochet. So your chain 2 is actually an increase. So go into the next stitch and, well, not an increase, but your chain 2 is an double crochet. So yarn over, go into the next stitches, and you're just going to continue from there. This one will have no increase, so this is going to make our exact amount of chain that we need to start our bottom. So the last row that we did with increase have 156. That's why we only do 2 sections. So you can remove out all your stitch marker now, because we have no more section to do with increase, just normal row. So just continue this row with just regular double crochet, no increase, no decrease, and I'll meet you at the next end to tell you what next to do. So I'm close to the end of this rounds, and this will also be the end of the waist section. Go into that last stitch. Always remember that stitch, guys. Alright, so this is what we're going to do now. Get the next end of our work and make a slip stitch right into that spot. Chain up 2 as usual, yarn over, go into the next stitch and create a double crochet, and go into the next stitch. So your work's supposed to be looking like this. This is how your work's supposed to look. Alright, so after we do our attachment, we are going to do the body now of it. So just go into the next stitches, and when you reach round to this side, I'll tell you what next to do. So same double crochet into each and every space. So just continue doing that. So I'm close to the end of this row. Go into that last stitch, and I want you guys to look carefully. Yarn over, go right into the stitch right in between. It's kind of hard to go in between, but go into that stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through one, yarn over, pull through all 3, and then slip stitch right into your starting chain. And this is what is going to form that straight line. So same like we have this straight line here, when you put that extra stitch right in there, you're going to have a complete straight line for the rest of the outfit. So chain up 2, yarn over, go into that space right in between, and then do your double crochet. Yarn over, go into the next stitch, and I'll meet you guys at the end. So I'm close to the end of this row for the finishing of the body. Yarn over, always go into this last stitch here, guys. Do not miss it out. And then slip stitch right into your starting chain. Alright, so if you notice, you see a straight line into it. Alright, so what we're going to do now is count around the bottom and see how much you have. So I did my counting already, and I put my stitch marker into the center. I count 170, and I divide that into 2 from where my starting chain is and the middle of the outfit. So I get 85 for each section. So 85 over here, 85 over here, because everything is 170. So you have to find the center. Alright, so what I'm going to do now is just chain up 10. Alright, and then I'm going to put a slip stitch right into where my stitch marker is. So just remove that stitch marker and do a slip stitch. Alright, chain up 2, tug on it, and then cut off your yarn. Tug on it. Alright, so make sure that it's firmly intact. So that's the way it's supposed to look. And then we are going to count to find the half of this section to start our work. So this is the middle, right into that 5 spot. That's where we're going to start our work. Make a slip knot and pull through. Just chain 1 so that it will hold that spot. Alright. So chain up 1 more, so we'll have 2, and there we're going to start our work. So yarn over, go into the next stitch, weave in your ends while you go. And we're going to continue with our double crochet, but we're going to do into one section and then we go into the other section. So let's start from this section. Yarn over, go into the next stitch, pull up a loop, pull through 1, pull through all 3. We are going to go into each and every space till we reach to this section. Alright, so we're going to the last one. So right where we had our chain 2 coming out from, we are going to put a double crochet right into that space, so there won't be a gap in between. Yarn over, go now into our next stitch and just continue now from there. And go into those spaces. So your work's supposed to look like this. So just yarn over and crochet into each and every space, and when we reach to this section, I'll tell you what next to do. So I reached to this section, so I'm going to hold my end because I like to weave in my ends while I go. Alright, so yarn over, go into that next stitch, pull up a hoop, pull through 1, pull through all 3. So just weave in your ends while you go. I like to weave in my ends while I go because when my project finish, I don't like to go through the whole process of weaving in a lot of ends. So that's why I choose to weave in my ends while I'm working. Make the project more easier. Yarn over, go into that next space, and yarn over, go into that last space, and then we are going right into the center. So this section is going to be a little hard to push in, but that's what we got to do. And my finger is sick, my index finger, so bear with me. yarn over, go into that next stitch, three more to go, go into that next stitch, and go into that last stitch. Make sure guys that you don't miss out on this last one. And then join your work with a slip stitch, chain up 2, yarn over, go into that next stitch and create a double crochet, yarn over, go into that next space, and you're just going to go into each and every space. And when you reach back to this section, I'll tell you what next to do. So I reach close to the end of this row. Going to that last stitch, and you're just going to create a slip stitch right into that starting chain, right like that. So you notice you're not seeing any hole at this section nor at this section. So just chain up your 2, and the same thing that I showed you to do a while ago, make sure that you do it, but always going into that first stitch and then just continue from there. I'll meet you when I finish my rounds, and I'll let you know how much rounds that I did. So I did 10 row, but I'm going to do one more row with a reduction. So I chain up my 2, go into that next stitch and create a double crochet, yarn over, go into that next stitch and create a double crochet. So for this one now, I'm going to do a reduction. Go into that stitch, pull up a hoop, go into the next stitch, pull up a hoop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, and just continue now your double crochet. And then I'm just going to just continue to do the same thing that I was doing before, and I'll meet you guys up when we reach to this end, because we are going to do something different. So I'm close to the end of this row, so this would make 11 row. Remember guys, it is optional. You do not have to make so much row. You can make 4, you can make 6, any amount of your choice. The reason why I make so much row is because I want it to be optional. If I choose to wear this at a formal occasion, I can. Alright, so start off by chaining up 4, yarn over. This section is going to be different, so count off 3 double crochet, 1 2 3, and go into that next space and create a double crochet. So we are going to create a mesh for this section. Chain up 2, yarn over, count off 3 double crochet, 1 2 3, and go into that next space. Chain up 2, 1 2, yarn over, count off 3 double crochet, 1 2 3, and go into that next space and create a double crochet. So you're just going to continue to chain 2 and go into the 3rd stitch, and you're going to do it all the way around, and I'll meet you back at this end. So I'm close to the end of this row. Chain 2, go into the 3rd spot, 1 2 3, with a double crochet, chain 2, yarn over, and then slip stitch into your 2nd chain space of your starting row. Alright, so this section now is going to be a little bit different as well. Chain up 2, yarn over, go back into that same spot, with a double crochet. So we are creating a shell. Chain 2, yarn over, go back into that same spot with a double crochet. That's 1 and that's 2. So this is the way our shell look. Chain up 4, yarn over, skip 1, 2 mesh and go into your third mesh. We are going to create a shell into this space. So 2 double crochet with a chain 2 with 2 double crochet for our shell. So that's 1 and that's 2. So that's our shell. Chain up 4 again, yarn over, skip 2, 1, 2, go into that third space and create your shell. So if you guys watch the video on how to create a pineapple romper, it's the same way how we did the sleeve. That's the way we are doing the pants foot. Alright, so chain of 4, yarn over, skip 2 and go into that third spot with a shell. So you're just going to continue to do this and I'll meet you guys at the next end. So I'm close to the end of this round. So I chain my 4, skip 2, go into that next stitch and create your shell. Chain of 4 and slip stitch right into your shell. Alright, so slip stitch into your next 2 stitches. That 1, that's 2. So we are right in between our shell. Chain up 2, yarn over, go back into that same space and create your shell. Remember, 2 double crochet with a chain 2 with 2 double crochet. That's how we create our shell. Alright, chain up 2. We're doing a little bit different in this row, but same way as how we did our sleeve in our crochet pineapple romper. Chain 2, so that's a slip knot. Yarn over, go into that shell and create a shell. Chain 2, slip knot into that chain 4 space, chain 2, yarn over, create a shell into your shell. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and be a part of the Sparks family. Remember, each one teach one. Chain up 2, slip knot into that chain 4 spot, chain 2, yarn over, go into that spot and create a shell. And you're just going to continue to do this and I'll meet you at the next rounds. Always start off by slip stitching to the first 2 stitches of your shell. So chain up 2, yarn over, go back into that shell space and create a shell. Chain up 4, yarn over, go into that shell space and create a shell. So the same thing that we did for the starting here with our chain 4, that's the same thing we are going to do. So we are doing vice versa. Whatever we do in this row, we won't do it in the next row, then we do it in the other row. So chain up 4, yarn over, go into that shell space and create a shell. So your work's supposed to look like this. Alright, so X diamond, and then the next one is going to be the X. So just continue to do this and I'll meet you at the next rounds. So I did my slip stitch already, so I'm just going to chain up 2 and go back into that same space and do my double crochet to create my shell. Alright, chain up 2, slip stitch into that 4 chain space, chain up 2, yarn over, go into that shell and create a shell. So what we did right here, that's what we are going to do again. So we are going to do this vice versa over and over until it reaches to the section where we're going to do our decrease. So you're just going to just continue to do this, and I'll meet you guys where we're going to do our decrease, and I'll let you guys know how much row I did. So just continue doing this. So I did 23 rows of the X diamond pattern. Alright, so this is going to be my 24th row. We are going to do a decrease in this row. So just go into that space and create your shell. Alright, chain up 2, go into that next space, chain 2, go into that next space and create a shell, and then we are going to do our decrease. So we are not going to put any chain 2 on this when we are doing our reduction. Just yarn over, go into that space, pull up a hoop, go in between our shell, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and then pull through all 3. Alright, so that piece that we just did is going to classify as part of our shell. So yarn over, go back into that same space and create a double crochet because we're creating our shell, then chain 2, yarn over, go back into that same space and create our next half of our shell. Chain up 2, then slip stitch where our chain 4 is, chain up 2, then create our shell. So your work's supposed to look like this. Alright, so you're just going to continue to do the same thing, and I'll meet you at the next round where we'll be doing one more reduction, and it's going to do a little bit different from that reduction. So start off by chaining 2, yarn over, go back into that same space and create your shell. Chain up 4, yarn over, go into that space, pull up a loop, go into the next shell space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all 3, yarn over, go back into that same space and create a double crochet. So we are doing half of our shell, and our reduction piece is classified as piece of our shell. So just chain up 2, yarn over, go back into that same chain space and create the next 2 double crochet to finish your shell. Alright, so it's supposed to look like that. Chain up 4, yarn over, go into your next space and create your shell. So just continue to do this. So the 26th row I'm in with my chain 2 and create a shell. There's going to be a reduction into the 26th row, but like how we did our reduction on this side while we start, we are going to continue around, and when we reach round to this side we are going to do our next reduction. So just continue doing the same thing that we were doing before, and I'll meet you on this side. So don't chain up any 2, just yarn over, go into that space and go into the next space, pull up a loop, so you have 4 loop on your hook. Alright, yarn over, and pull through 2. You have 3 leave on your hook, yarn over, pull through all 3. Alright, so that's how we do our reduction. This is part of our shell, so just go back into that space and do 1 more double crochet and then chain 2, then go back in that space and do your next 2 double crochet to finish up your shell. Then chain 2, then go into your 4 chain space and do your slip stitch, chain up 2, and then slip stitch into your starting chain. And the next rounds that we're going to do is another reduction. So this is how your reduction is supposed to look. So just slip stitch into the next 2 chain space and continue your work, and I'll meet you back at this end. So reach round to the section where we're going to do our next reduction. So chain up 4, yarn over, go into that shell space, pull up a loop, go into the next shell space, pull up a loop. So we got 4 on our hook. Yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 1, 2, 3. Alright, so that's part of our shell. Yarn over, go back into that same shell space and create a double crochet. So that's half of our shell. Chain up 2, yarn over, go back into that space and do 2 double crochet. That's 1, that's 2. Then you just chain up 4 and slip stitch into your starting chain. And there we did our reduction. You can see the 2 section go off and it turn into 1. Alright, so just continue to do this by slip stitching into your next 2 stitches. And when we are going to do our next reduction, to balance off our work, we did it over here, we did it over here, so we'd have to do it into the middle here to balance off our work when we are doing the next reduction. So just chain up 2 and continue to do what you're doing, and when we reach to the next section to do our reduction, I'll tell you what next to do. So we are in our 28th row and we're close to where we are going to do our reduction. Remember, this time it's right in the middle from where we start. Alright, so we start right here, so this is where the middle is. So we're about to do our reduction. Yarn over, go into that spot, pull up a loop, go into that shell space, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all 3, yarn over, go back into that same space and do a double crochet. Chain 2, yarn over, go back into that same space and do 2 more double crochet to finish off our shell. So just chain 2, go into your 4th chain space with a slip stitch and just continue from there, and we're going to have to do 1 more reduction into the next row to go over this section. So just continue doing it. So I'm close to the next reduction, so I'm chaining my 4, yarn over, go into that shell space, pull up a loop, go into the next shell space, pull up a loop, yarn over and pull through 2, yarn over and pull through all 3, yarn over, go into that same space and create your shell. So that's 1 double crochet with a chain 2 with 2 more double crochet. Alright, chain 4, yarn over, go into that shell space and create a shell. And you're just going to continue to do this. So I'm in my 40 row and I'm creating my shell. I'm going to do a reduction in my 40 row as well. So the same spot that we start off with our reduction, we're going to do it right here. Chain up 2, slip stitch into that section, chain 2, yarn over, create a shell into the next shell, and now we are going to do our reduction. Yarn over, pull up a hoop, go into that next stitch, pull up a hoop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, go back into that space and create a double crochet, yarn, chain up 2, yarn over, go back into that space 2 more times. So that's 1 and that's 2. So we create our shell there. Chain up 2, slip stitch into the next space, and we're going to do a reduction into our next row. So just continue to do this, and when we reach to the next row to do our reduction, I'll be back with you. So I reached to the next section of doing my reduction. So chain up 4, yarn over, go into that shell, pull up a hoop, go into your next shell, pull up a hoop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all 3, yarn over, go back into that same space and do a double crochet, then chain 2, then go back into that same space and do a next double crochet, 2 double crochet, chain up 4 and continue from there. So I'm on my 42 row of reduction. So we did our reduction on this side, so we are doing our reduction now on this side. So go into that space and create your shell. And then yarn over, go into that space, pull up a hoop, go into your shell, pull up a hoop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 3, yarn over, go into that space with a double crochet, chain up 2, yarn over, go back into that space with 2 double crochet to finish up our shell. So chain up 2, slip stitch into your 4th chain and just continue from there. And we are going to do one more reduction on our next row. So just continue. So I'm close to the next reduction. Chain up 4, yarn over, go into that shell, pull up a hoop, go into your next shell, pull up a hoop, yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through all 3, yarn over, go back into that same space and create a double crochet, chain up 2 and finish off your shell by creating 2 more double crochet. So that's 1 and that's 2. So chain up 4 and continue from there. So I'm on my finishing of my pants foot. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting on? Hit that subscribe button and be a part of the Sparks family. Remember guys, each one teach one. So I'm gonna slip stitch right in here, and in all I have 48 rows. So just chain up 2 and then we're just going to cut off our yarn. So in all guys, I have 48 rows of mesh. Alright, and this is it. So I'm going to do the next foot off camera and I'll show you. So I completed my pants foot. Okay, so peace out, love you guys, until next time.